I'm in labor in a prison cell and the father of these babies thinks I'm dead. My name is Adrian Cole, and this is the story of how I lost everything, gave birth in chains, and survived the impossible. But to understand how I got here, I need to take you back to the beginning. Back to the night I met him, the night that changed everything. I was 24 years old, working as a nurse at Chicago Memorial. Night shift. The ER was always chaos, but that particular night was different. That's when they brought him in, Matteo Russo, 6'4", dark hair, eyes like smoke, and injured with a wound in his side. His men filled the waiting room, intimidating, silent. I should have been scared. Any sane person would have been scared. But when I looked at him lying on that gurney, all I saw was someone who needed help. "Can you stitch me up?" he asked, his voice rough with pain. I glanced at the wound. "You need a doctor, I need discretion." His eyes locked onto mine. "Can you do it or not?" I should have said no. Should have walked away. Should have called security. Instead, I said yes. I worked in silence, my hands steady despite my racing heart. He watched me the entire time, never flinching, never looking away. "You're good at this," he said when I finished. "I'm a nurse. It's my job. What's your name?" Adrian. Adrian. He tested my name like it meant something. "I'm Matteo. I know who you are, and yet you helped me anyway." I cleaned up the medical supplies, avoiding his gaze. "You were bleeding. That's all that mattered." He caught my wrist gently. "Thank you." The touch sent electricity through my entire body. When I finally looked up at him, something passed between us. Something I couldn't explain. Something that felt like recognition, like fate. He came back 3 days later. Not injured this time, just standing outside the hospital when my shift ended. "I wanted to make sure you didn't get in trouble for helping me," he said. I didn't, single quotes. "Good." He paused, and for the first time he looked almost uncertain. "Can I buy you coffee?" I should have said no. Should have remembered who he was. Should have protected myself. But I didn't. We went to a 24-hour diner. Talked until sunrise. He told me about growing up in Sicily. About inheriting a legacy he never wanted. About trying to be better than the difficult past that raised him. I told him about growing up in foster care. About fighting for every opportunity. About choosing to save lives because I understood what it meant to barely survive by the time the sun came up. I knew I was in trouble, not because he was intimidating, but because I was falling for him. The next 2 months were like a dream. Secret meetings. Stolen moments. He'd text me after my shifts and we'd meet at hidden restaurants or walk along the lake at midnight. He made me feel safe in a way I'd never felt before. Protected, seen, valued. "I'm falling in love with you," he told me one night, his forehead pressed against mine. "That's dangerous," I whispered back. "I know, but I can't stop. Neither can I." He kissed me then, and I knew there was no going back. I was his. Completely. 3 weeks later, during my heat cycle, everything changed. He took care of me. Gentle, patient, perfect. And when he marked me as his, when I felt his teeth on my neck and his scent mixing with mine, I knew I'd found home. "I love you," I whispered against his chest afterward. "I love you too." He held me tighter. "You're mine, Adrian, forever." I believed him. God, I believed every word. But forever doesn't mean what I thought it meant. 2 weeks after that perfect night, everything fell apart. I was at home planning dinner for Matteo's visit. When my door crashed open, men in masks, armed, shouting, I tried to fight, tried to scream. But they were too strong, too fast, too prepared. One of them jabbed something into my neck. A needle. Darkness rushed up to meet me. The last thing I remember was thinking his name, Matteo, when I woke up. I was in a cell, cold concrete, metal bars. No windows, and a guard standing outside, watching me with dead eyes. "Where am I?" I demanded, my voice shaking. "What do you want?" He didn't answer, just walked away. Days passed, maybe weeks. I lost track of time in that windowless hell. They fed me once a day. Let me use a bathroom under supervision. Gave me nothing else. No answers, no contact with the outside world. Nothing. I begged, pleaded, demanded to know why I was there. Silence. And then, one day, a different guard appeared. Older, with something that might have been pity in his eyes. He handed me a newspaper through the bars. "I'm sorry," he said quietly. I unfolded it with shaking hands. The headline hit me like a physical blow. Matteo Russo lost in bombing. Prominent businessman presumed gone at 30-1. No. The article said a rival family had planted a bomb in his car. That he'd been killed instantly. That his body had been identified. That his funeral would be private. I sank to the floor, the newspaper falling from my numb fingers. He was dead. Matteo was dead, and I was trapped in this nightmare. With no way out and no idea why, that's when I felt it. The nausea, the dizziness, the strange pulling sensation in my abdomen. No, please no. But my body knew what my mind refused to accept. I was pregnant. Part 2. I don't know how long I sat on that cell floor, staring at nothing. Mateo was gone, and I was carrying his child. No, not child. Children. The ultrasound came 2 months later. A prison doctor, cold and efficient, running the scanner over my growing belly without a word. Twins, she said flatly, both healthy. Due in approximately 6 months, she left without another word. No, congratulations. No concern. Nothing. I was having twins. Mateo's twins, and he would never know they existed. The guard who'd given me the newspaper, his name was Officer Hayes, started bringing me prenatal vitamins, extra food, a thin blanket. Why are you helping me? I asked one day. He looked at me for a long moment. Because you don't deserve this. Nobody does. Then let me go. I can't. His expression was pained. I wish I could, but I can't. Why am I here? What did I do? He shook his head. I don't know. I just work here. But whoever put you here has power. Real power. More than me? More than anyone in this facility who, I demanded, who has that much power. He walked away without answering. The pregnancy progressed. My belly grew. I felt the babies move, 2 distinct patterns of kicks and rolls that became my only comfort in that endless darkness. I talked to them constantly. I'm your papa, I whispered, hands on my stomach. I know you can't hear me yet, but I need you to know you're loved. So loved your father. He would have cherished you. He didn't know about you, but he would have moved heaven and earth to protect you. Tears streamed down my face. I'm going to get us out of here. I don't know how yet, but I will. You deserve better than being born in a cage. You deserve sunshine and laughter and all the love I can give you. I promise you that. I promise. Month 7. Month 8. My body changed, swelled, ached. The twins were running out of room, and I could feel it in every movement. Hayes brought me baby clothes. 2 tiny outfits, soft and clean. Where did you get these? I asked, overwhelmed my wife. He looked away. When I told her about you, about the babies, she insisted. Thank you. It was inadequate. But it was all I had. The contractions started at 3 in the morning on a Tuesday. I'd been asleep on the thin mattress when the first wave of pain ripped through me. No, not yet. It was too early. Still 2 weeks before my due date, but babies don't care about schedules. The second contraction came 10 minutes later. Then 8. Then 5. I called for Hayes, my voice breaking with panic. He came running, took one look at my face and went pale. I need to get the doctor, he said. There's no time. Another contraction doubled me over. They're coming now. He hesitated for just a second. Then he unlocked my cell door and helped me to the floor, grabbing the blanket to put under me. I'm here, he said, his voice surprisingly steady. I'm not going anywhere. We're going to get through this. The labor was hell. Hours of pain, of pushing, of screaming until my voice gave out. But Hayes stayed, coached me through breathing, held my hand when I needed something to grip, reminded me why I had to keep going for them, he said. For your babies, they need you to be strong. And finally, after what felt like an eternity, I heard it a cry, small and furious and absolutely perfect. It's a boy, Hayes said, his voice thick with emotion. A healthy baby boy. He wrapped my son in one of the tiny outfits and placed him on my chest. I looked down at this impossibly small person, and my heart shattered and remade itself all at once. Hi, baby, I whispered through my tears. I'm your papa. I've got you. My son opened his eyes, dark like Mateo's, and looked at me, and I fell in love all over again. But there was no time to rest. The second baby was coming. 10 minutes later, another cry filled the cell. Another boy, Hayes announced. Twins boys. Both perfect. He wrapped my second son and placed him beside his brother on my chest. I held them both, these 2 tiny miracles, and wept. You're here. You're really here. I kissed each of their foreheads. I'm Adrian. I'm your papa, and I love you more than anything in this world. They were identical. Same dark hair, wispy and soft. Same eyes. Same little nose. Mateo's sons. Our sons. Hayes helped me clean up, his hands gentle and professional. Then he brought me water and more blankets. What will you name them? He asked quietly. I looked down at my sleeping babies, the first one born. The one who came out screaming and fighting. I'll call him Marco. It means warrior. And the second, Luca, it means light. I stroked his tiny cheek, because even in this darkness, they're my light. Beautiful names, Hayes said. They're lucky to have you. I'm lucky to have them. He stood to leave, then paused. I'm going to figure out who put you here, and why. I promise you that. Why would you do that? Because this is wrong. He looked at me with fierce determination. Whatever you did or didn't do, giving birth in a prison cell is wrong. Those babies deserved better. You deserve better. After he left, I lay there with my sons, sleeping on my chest, their tiny hearts beating against mine. Mateo, I whispered to the darkness, I wish you could see them. They have your eyes, your strength. They're perfect. A tear slid down my cheek. I'll tell them about you. About how brave you were. How you tried to leave that life for something better. How you cared for me. Another tear. I'll make sure they know their father was a good man. That you would have cared for them deeply. That you would have protected them with everything you had. Marco stirred, making a small sound. She, sweet boy, Papa's here. I'm always here. And in that moment, holding my sons in a prison cell, I made a vow. I would survive this. I would protect them. I would find a way out, no matter what it took. But what I didn't know, what I couldn't have known, was that at that exact moment, 300 miles away, someone else was making a vow too. Someone who wasn't as gone as the world thought. Someone who was about to turn my entire world upside down again. Part 3. Hayes came back the next morning with formula, bottles, and diapers. How did you get all this? I asked, carefully feeding Marco while Luca slept in my makeshift bassinet. A drawer Hayes had brought me. Don't ask questions you don't want answers to. But his eyes were How are they? Perfect. Exhausting. I smiled despite everything. I didn't know I could love something this much. That's what being a parent is. He watched me with something like respect. You're doing great, Adrian. I don't feel like it. I'm raising newborn twins in a prison cell. That's not great. You're keeping them alive, fed, and loved. That's everything. Over the next few days, Hayes became my lifeline. He brought supplies, helped me navigate the impossible task of caring for 2 infants in captivity, ran interference with other guards who might report the situation, and he started asking questions. On the 5th day, he came to my cell with a strange expression. I found something, he said quietly, glancing over his shoulder. But you're not going to like it. Tell me. He handed me a file folder through the bars. I opened it with one hand, Luca sleeping against my shoulder. Inside were photos, documents, official-looking papers with seals and signatures, and a name I didn't recognize. Vincent Russo. Who is this? I asked. Mateo's cousin. Hayes leaned against the bars. He's the one who had you taken, what? My voice rose and Luca stirred. I quieted immediately, rocking him gently. Why? What did I do? Nothing. Hayes' jaw clenched. From what I can piece together, Vincent wanted control of the Russo family operations. Mateo was trying to legitimize the business, walk away from the difficult past. Vincent didn't like that. I don't understand. What does that have to do with me? You were Mateo's weakness. Everyone knew he'd do anything to protect you. So, Vincent used you. Used me how? Hayes pulled out another document. A certificate. For me, according to official records, Adrian Cole passed away in a car accident 6 months ago. Same day you disappeared, my blood ran cold. He faked my passing. Yes. And then he did something worse. He looked at me with pity. He told Mateo you'd betrayed him. That you'd been working with a rival family. That you'd shared information that got 3 of his men hurt. No, Mateo wouldn't believe that. He knew me. He didn't want to believe it. But Vincent had evidence. Fake evidence, but convincing. Phone records. Bank transfers. Everything pointed to you. I felt sick, so Mateo thought I betrayed him. Yes. And then, before he could investigate further, Vincent staged the bombing, the explosive device that ended him. Hayes was quiet for a long moment. That's where it gets complicated. What do you mean? The device happened. Mateo's car exploded. A body was found and identified as his, but 3 days ago I heard something. A rumor. He lowered his voice. That Mateo Russo was seen alive in New York? That's impossible. I saw the newspaper. The funeral was closed casket. Hayes met my eyes. What if Vincent staged the whole thing? What if he wanted everyone, including Mateo, to believe certain people were gone? My mind was spinning. Why would he fake Mateo's passing? Because someone who's believed gone can't fight back, can't reclaim power, can't find out the truth? Hayes gripped the bars. Adrian, I think Mateo is alive, and I think he doesn't know you are. Luca started crying, probably sensing my distress. I shifted him to my other shoulder, my hands shaking. If he's alive, I whispered, why hasn't he found me? Because he thinks you betrayed him, and because, according to every official record, you're gone. Hayes' expression was grim. He's not looking for you because he thinks there's nothing to find. I need to see him. My voice broke. He needs to know about Marco and Luca. He needs to know the truth. I'm working on it. But Adrian, you need to understand something. If Vincent finds out you're alive, finds out about the twins, he will eliminate all 3 of you. You're loose ends, then what do I do? We get you out tonight. I stared at him. Tonight I've been planning this for weeks, since the babies were born. He pulled a key from his pocket. Change of guards happens at 10 p.m. There's a 15-minute window where the east corridor is empty. I'll get you and the twins out, put you in my car and drive you to a safe house, and then what? Then we figure out how to get word to Mateo. If he's really alive, if he learns the truth, he'll move heaven and earth to get to you. What if he doesn't believe it? What if he still thinks I betrayed him? Then you walk away. You and your sons disappear and start over somewhere safe. Hayes' eyes were fierce. But at least you'll be free. At least they'll grow up outside these walls. I looked down at Luca, now calm and sleeping again. Then at Marco, who was watching me with those impossibly aware eyes. Okay, I said. Tonight, the day dragged by with agonizing slowness. I fed the twins, changed them, held them close and whispered promises about sunshine and parks and everything they'd been denied. Hayes, I said when he brought dinner, why are you doing this? You could lose your job. Face serious consequences yourself, because it's right. He shrugged. My wife and I, we lost a baby 2 years ago. Complications during pregnancy. When I see you with your boys caring for them despite everything, I can't just stand by and do nothing. I'm sorry. About your baby. Me too. But maybe this is my chance to make sure other babies get their shot at life. He checked his watch. 3 hours. Pack only what you absolutely need. I'll bring a bag. The next 3 hours were the longest of my life. I held my sons, memorized their faces, tried to imagine a future beyond these walls. And I thought about Mateo. If he was really alive, what would he do when he learned the truth? Would he forgive me, even though there was nothing to forgive? Would he want to know his sons? Would he still love me? At 9:45, Hayes appeared with a backpack. Ready? He whispered, as I'll ever be. I put Marco in a makeshift sling across my chest, Luca in another. Hayes had brought them, along with supplies, formula, everything I might need. The cell door clicked open. This way, quick and quiet, we moved through empty corridors, Hayes checking corners before we advanced. My heart hammered so hard I thought everyone in the building must hear it. Almost there, Hayes breathed. That's when we heard voices. Go, go, go. Hayes shoved me toward a side door. My car's the blue sedan, 3rd row, keys in the ignition. Drive to this address. He pressed a paper into my hand. Don't stop for anything. What about you? I'll handle them. Go. I ran out the door. Across the parking lot, into the blue sedan, the twins were miraculously still asleep. I started the car with shaking hands and drove into the night. Toward an uncertain future, with my 2 sons and a prayer that somehow, somewhere, their father was alive and looking for us. If you're enjoying this story, hit that subscribe button. More emotional BL stories drop every week. Part 4. The safe house was a small cabin an hour outside the city. I pulled up just as the sun started to rise, my hands cramped from gripping the steering wheel so tightly. Marco and Luca had woken twice during the drive, and I'd pulled over to feed them in dark parking lots, constantly looking over my shoulder, but we made it. The cabin was simple but clean. 1 bedroom, a small kitchen, and most importantly, locks on the doors and curtains on the windows. I brought the twins inside, set up their makeshift beds, and finally allowed myself to breathe. We're out, I whispered to them. We're actually out. Marco yawned. Luca made a small cooing sound and I laughed. Actually laughed. For the first time in 9 months, Hayes had left supplies. Formula, diapers, clothes, a burner phone with a single number programmed in. I called it Adrian. Hayes answered immediately. You made it. We made it. My voice cracked. Thank you. For everything. Don't thank me yet. We still have work to do. He paused. I'm going to try to make contact with Mateo. See if the rumors are true. If he's alive, and if he is, I'll tell him everything. About you? About the twins? About Vincent's lies? Hayes' voice was determined. But, Adrian, you need to be prepared. He might not believe it at first. He might need proof. I'll give him whatever he needs. Good. Stay at the cabin. Don't go anywhere. Don't contact anyone. I'll call you when I know something. The next 3 days were the longest of my life. I cared for the twins. Slept when they slept. Tried not to think about all the ways this could go wrong. And I thought about Mateo. Was he really alive? Was he mourning me? Resenting me? Had he moved on? The phone rang on the 4th day. Adrian Hayes' voice was tight. He's alive. My legs gave out. I sat down hard on the floor. He is. Yes, and he knows the truth. About Vincent. About the lies. He paused. About you being alive? What did he say? Hayes was quiet for too long. Tell me, I demanded. He didn't believe it at first. Thought it was another trick. Another way for Vincent to manipulate him. But you convinced him. I told him about the twins. The silence on my end was deafening. Adrian Hayes said gently. He broke down completely when I told him you'd given birth to his sons in a prison cell. That you'd been suffering while he thought you were dead. He lost it. Is he coming? He's already on his way. He left New York 2 hours ago. Should be there by tonight. Tonight? My hands started shaking. Hayes, what if he's angry? What if he blames me for not finding a way to contact him? He doesn't. I was there when he got the news. He's not angry at you, Adrian. He's devastated. And he's ready to burn down everyone who hurt you. Good, I said, surprising myself with the venom in my voice. They deserve it. Adrian, one more thing. What? Vincent knows. About you being alive? About the escape. Hayes' voice was urgent. You need to be very careful. Mateo's bringing security, but until he gets there, you're vulnerable. I'll be okay. Lock the doors. Keep the phone on you. If anyone approaches that cabin before Mateo arrives, call me immediately. After we hung up, I gathered the twins close. Your father is coming, I whispered. He's alive. He's coming for us. The hours crawled by. I fed the twins, rocked them, put them down for naps, all while watching the window. Jumping at every sound, dusk fell, then full darkness, and finally, just after 9 p.m., I heard it, a car engine, headlights cutting through the darkness. I grabbed the phone, ready to call Hayes, but then I saw him, not Mateo. He emerged from the car, illuminated by the porch light. Same dark hair, same broad shoulders, but somehow different. Harder, more intense. He looked toward the cabin, and even from a distance, I could see the tension in every line of his body. I opened the door, we stared at each other across the yard. Adrian, he breathed, and then he was running, and I was running. We collided in the middle of the yard, his arms wrapping around me so tightly I could barely breathe. You're alive, he gasped against my hair. You're real. You're here, I'm here. I was crying into his chest. I'm here. I'm alive. I never betrayed you. I never. No. His voice broke. I know everything. God, Adrian, I'm so sorry. I should have known. I should have looked harder. I should have. I pulled back just enough to see his face, the tears streaming down his cheeks, the anguish in his eyes. You thought I was dead, I said gently. You thought I betrayed you? None of this is your fault. I let them take you. I believed their lies because they were convincing. Because Vincent is a monster who knows how to manipulate people. But Mateo? I have something you need to see. I took his hand and led him inside. The twins were sleeping in their makeshift cribs, side by side, perfect and peaceful. Mateo stopped in the doorway. His entire body went rigid. Those are... He couldn't finish the sentence. Your sons. I moved to stand between the cribs. Marco and Luca, they're 2 weeks old. Born in that prison cell, but they're healthy, strong. Perfect. Mateo approached slowly, like he was afraid they'd disappear if he moved too fast. He knelt beside the cribs, looking from one baby to the other. They look like you, I said softly. He reached out with a shaking hand, gently touching Marco's tiny fist. Marco's fingers immediately wrapped around his father's finger, and Mateo completely broke down. He sobbed, shoulders shaking, face buried in his free hand, years of pain and loss and grief pouring out all at once. I knelt beside him, my hand on his back. They're yours, I whispered. Our sons, our family. He looked at me through his tears. I missed everything. Their birth, their first days. I missed you're here now. That's what matters. He cupped my face with his free hand, his thumb wiping away my tears. I love you. I never stopped loving you. Not for one single second. Even when they told me I know. I leaned into his touch. I love you too. He kissed me then, desperate, reverent. A promise and an apology all at once. When we finally pulled apart, Marco started fussing. Can I? Mateo asked, hesitant. Of course. I smiled through my tears. You're his father. Mateo carefully picked up Marco, cradling him against his chest with the kind of gentle strength only he possessed. Hi, baby boy, he whispered. I'm your papa. I'm so sorry I wasn't there before. But I'm here now. I'm here, and I promise you, I will never let anyone hurt you or your brother or your daddy again. Marco settled immediately against Mateo's chest, his tiny fist curling into his father's shirt, and I knew, watching them, that despite everything we'd been through, we were finally whole, but the peace didn't last. It never does. Part 5. Fighting for FOR. We had 3 hours, 3 perfect hours, where Mateo held his sons, and I told him everything. About the pregnancy, the labor, the months of isolation and fear. Hayes called with a warning at midnight. Vincent's men are coming, he said without preamble. They tracked the car. You have maybe 30 minutes, maybe less. Mateo's entire demeanor changed, from gentle father to fierce protector in an instant. Get the twins ready, he told me. We're leaving now. Where? Somewhere safe. His jaw was set. Somewhere Vincent can never reach you. Outside, car doors slammed. Voices shouted, Too late. They were here. Take the twins to the bedroom, Mateo ordered, pulling a defensive tool from his waistband. Lock the door. Don't come out until I say, I'm not leaving you, Adrian, please. His eyes begged. I can handle this, but I can't do it if I'm worried about you and the boys. Please. I grabbed Marco and Luca, holding them close as I ran to the bedroom. Behind me, the front door crashed open. Mateo, a voice called. Vincent's voice? Come out peacefully, and maybe your little family lives through the crack in the bedroom door. I watched through the crack in the bedroom door. I watched. Mateo stood in the center of the room, defensive tool raised. Facing Vincent and 4 armed men, you staged my disappearance, Mateo said, his voice deadly calm. You hurt the man I care for. You tried to steal my family's legacy. I improved it, Vincent corrected. The business is thriving without your moral complications, by hurting innocent people. By putting Adrian in that place while he was pregnant with my children, Vincent shrugged. Collateral damage. Wrong answer. What happened next was chaos. Confrontation, shouting, bodies moving too fast to track. I held the twins close, their cries drowned out by the violence, and then silence. Adrian, Mateo called. It's over. It's safe. I emerged shakily to find Vincent and his men restrained on the floor. Mateo was injured from his shoulder, but standing. You're hurt. I gasped. It's nothing. He pulled out his phone. I'm calling my people. We're getting you somewhere actually safe this time. Within an hour. We were in a car convoy heading to a private airport. The twins slept through most of it, exhausted from the night's events. Where are we going? I asked Mateo as we boarded his private plane. Sicily. My family's estate. It's a fortress. Vincent can't touch us there. I leaned against him, suddenly exhausted. What about Vincent? My men are handling it. Mateo's expression was grim. He won't hurt anyone ever again. The flight was long. We took turns holding the twins, feeding them, trying to process everything that had happened. I'm going to testify, I told Mateo, against everyone involved. The guards who kept me there, the officials Vincent bribed, all of them. You don't have to. We can just disappear. Start over. No. I shook my head. What happened to me was wrong. But I was fortunate. Hayes helped me. I had you two come back too. How many others are trapped in situations like that with no one fighting for them? Mateo looked at me with such pride and love, it took my breath away. You're incredible. You know that. I'm just doing what's right. That's what makes you incredible. The Sicily estate was beautiful. Vineyards and olive groves. White stone buildings with blue shutters. Mountains in the distance. This is home, Mateo said, carrying both twins in their carriers. This is where our sons will grow up. Safe, loved, free. We spent the next few weeks settling in, learning to be a family, teaching Mateo all the things he'd missed in those early days. He was a natural father, patient, gentle, completely devoted to Marco and Luca, and to me. One evening, after we'd put the twins to bed, he took my hand and led me to the terrace overlooking the vineyard. I have something for you, he said. He pulled out a small velvet box. Mateo, I know we've done everything backwards. He opened the box, revealing a simple gold band. We fell in love, had children, survived hell. But there's one thing we haven't done yet. He knelt on one knee. Adrian Cole, will you marry me? Will you let me spend the rest of my life making up for the time we lost? Will you build a future with me where our sons grow up, knowing they're wanted and loved and safe? I was crying before he finished. Yes, God, yes. He slipped the ring onto my finger and kissed me like we had all the time in the world, because finally, we did. 3 months later, we married in a small ceremony on the estate. Just family and close friends. The twins in matching outfits, peaceful in their BASSINETS. Hayes was there. Having resigned from the prison and accepted a job on Mateo's legitimate security team, you saved us. I told him during the reception. I can never repay that. You already have. He smiled at his wife beside him. You reminded me what's worth fighting for that night. With the party still going on below, I stood in the nursery watching Mateo rock the twins. What are you thinking? He asked softly. That we survived? Against all odds, against everything they threw at us, we survived. We did more than survive. He looked at me over the twins' heads. We won. We have each other. We have our sons. We have a future. I crossed the room and wrapped my arms around all 3 of them. My family, my future. We thought the nightmare was over, but sometimes survival is just the beginning of a different kind of fight. Vincent's situation made headlines. His trial exposed corruption at every level, and I testified, told my story, helped put away everyone who'd been complicit. It was terrifying, empowering, necessary, but it also painted a target on our backs. 6 months after the wedding, Mateo's head of security came to him with news. There's been chatter. Vincent's allies, they're planning something. I won't let them anywhere near my family, Mateo said immediately. And he didn't. He increased security, hired the best protection available, made sure the estate was impenetrable, but he also did something else. He walked away from it all, the remaining family business, the territory, the power dynamics, all of it. I'm done, he announced to his remaining associates. I'm legitimizing everything or selling it. My priority is my family. Nothing else matters. It wasn't easy. Some fought him. Some tried to take advantage, but Matteo held firm, and slowly, over months and then years, we built something new. A life based not on violence or legacy or obligation, but on choice, on love. The twins grew, learned to walk, to talk, to laugh. They called Matteo Papa and me Daddy. They were happy, safe, whole. Everything I'd dreamed of in that prison cell had come true. One evening, when Marco and Luca were 5 years old, they asked about the scars on my wrists, from the chains I'd worn for months. I knelt down to their level. Those are from a time when things were very hard, I told them honestly. When bad people hurt me, but I survived because I knew I had to meet you. Because I loved you before I even knew you. Did Papa save you? Luca asked. We saved each other, Matteo said, joining us. Your daddy was the strongest, bravest person I've ever known. He protected you when I couldn't. And now we protect each other. Forever. Marco asked. Forever. We both answered. That night, after the twins were asleep, Matteo and I stood on our terrace looking at the stars. Do you ever regret it? I asked, walking away from everything. He pulled me close. I regret the time we lost. I regret what you went through. But this, us, our sons, this life we've built, he kissed my temple. This is everything I never knew I wanted. I love you. I love you too. Always have. Always will. We stood there in comfortable silence. Two people who'd survived the impossible and come out stronger. Sometimes I still have nightmares about the prison. The labor, the fear that I'd never escape. But then I wake up to Matteo beside me, our sons sleeping safely down the hall. And I remember, we made it. Against all odds, through all the pain. Despite everything they tried to do to us, we survived. And we're building something beautiful from the ashes of that nightmare. Our story isn't perfect. It's messy, complicated, scarred. But it's ours, and I wouldn't change a single moment of it because every hardship led me here to this. Life. This love. This family. And that makes every moment of suffering worth it. My name is Adrian Cole Russo. I gave birth to twins in a prison cell, while their father thought I was gone, but we found each other again and we're never letting go. This is our story. And this is our happy ending. Thanks for listening. If you want more emotional BL stories like this, hit subscribe and turn on notifications. Drop a comment below and tell me what you thought of Adrian and Matteo's journey. See you in the next story.